Welcome to the BMR review. Hello, beautiful people. Happy Sunday. It's good to see you. I'm pumped because today we're going to talk about one of my favorite books that I've read. It's The Poor Dad and the Rich Dad. The book is a story of a person who has two fathers. The first was his biological father, the poor dad, and the other was the father of his childhood best friend, Mike, the rich dad. Both fathers taught the others how to achieve success, but with very disparate approaches. It became evident to the others which father's approach made more financial sense. To go the book, the other compare both fathers, their principles, ideas, ways, and financial practice and degrees of dynamism, and how his real father, the poor and struggling but highly educated man, pulled against his rich dad in terms of assist building and business acumen. The other compare his poor dad to those people who are perpetually scarping in the rat race, helplessly trapped in a vicious cycle of needing more, but never able to satisfy their dreams for wealth because of one glaring lack: financial literacy. They spend so much time in schools learning about the problems of the world, but have not acquired any valuable lessons about money. Simply because it is never taught in the school, is rich dad. By contrast, represent the independently wealthy core of society who deliberately take advantages of the power of corporations and their personal knowledge of tax and accounting, which they manipulate to their advantages. The book's team reduced it to two important concepts: a can do attitude and fearless entrepreneurship. The author highlights these two concepts by providing multiple examples for each one and focusing on need for financial literacy. How the power of corporation contribute to making wealthy even wealthier. Minding your our business, overcoming obstacles by not fostering lazy fear, cynicism, and other negative attitudes. The others present six major lessons which he discussed throughout the book. The rich don't work for money, the importance of financial literacy, minding your our business, taxes and corporations. The rich invent money, need to work to learn and not to work for money. Now we'll talk about characters summary. The rich dad and poor dad resolve around three main characters: poor dad, rich dad, Kiyosaki's second father, and the son, the others himself as narrator of the book. The essence of each character is: poor dad, educated but lacking the street smart; rich dad, very little education, tons of street smarts; Kiyosaki, the spectator who learned the lessons from both internalized only rich dad traits. The poor dad. The others compare his poor dad to the millions of fathers around the world who encourage their sons to do well in school so they could get a good job with a good company. Poor dad believes in the traditional principles of working hard, saving money, and not buying material things that one cannot afford. He believes that having a good job with a solid company is what the one should aspire for. Hence, he expressed this disappointment when his son left the employer of a large reputable corporation. The poor dad looks to the education as the passport to the success. He held a doctorate degrees, went to the Lego universities, but was always struggling financially. He believes he would never be a rich man, and the other points out that he becomes a self-fulfilling prophecy. Poor dad was more interested in good education than the subject of money. The others wrote that his poor dad would always say things like, "I'm not interested in money," or "money does not matter." The others point out that the poor dad was preoccupied with things like job tenure and security, social security, vacations and sick leaves, company insurance and salary raises and promotions. The others felt that his poor dad was more interested in these factors rather than on the job itself. This is what the others call being trapped in the rat race. His poor dad worked hard instantly, but somehow never made it ahead financially. Poor dad's approach to the subject of money was based on working hard to have enough money to pay the bills, in contrast to the rich dad's approach to make own money for work for him. None with the rich dad. The authors wrote that it was when he was 9 years old that he started realizing that his rich dad made much more sense than his poor dad. It was from rich dad that the authors learned not to say I can afford it, but instead to ask how can I afford it. He explained this principle by relating an incident when he and his best friend Mike want to work for Mike's father. Rich dad paid them very low wages deliberately so that would be stranger and a sense of injustice in them, and eventually for them to realize that in order to get ahead one must work for himself and not for others. For example, in that part of the book when the others complain to the rich dad he can hardly afford it to buy anything with the wages he is paid. Rich dad tell him that he shouldn't dwell on the facts of his wages are low, but instead ask how I can make more money because they stimulate the brain to make action and to take it. His rich dad says that when someone says I can afford it, his brain stop working. It therefore kills initiative and promotes passivity. The others add that while his poor dad invested time and effort in education, he did not have any knowledge on an investing. His rich dad, by contrast, was very skilled in the investment games because that's all he did in all his life. The attitude of his rich dad about money was manifested in saying lack of money is the root of all evil. His poor dad, on the other hand, believed that love of money is the root of all evil. The rich dad also narrated the idea that taxes punished producers and rewarded non-producers. He was the type who encouraged money talk at the dinner table and was portrayed by the others as someone who learned to manage risk instead of not taking risks. The son Robert Kiyosaki. The author began his book Rich Dad Poor Dad by saying that he is fortunate in having had two fathers. He learned valuable lessons from both of them, but in chapter 1 it became evident which father had the more sensible approach toward money. He compares and contrasts both fathers' views about working hard, getting an education, saving and investing in money. He attributes his financial acumen to the money conversation he carried out with his rich dad. The other takes a common sense approach to the subject of money and emphasizes the need for accounting knowledge so that the reader clearly understands what assets and liability are. He makes simple diagrams that show the inflow and outflow of money and how the rich build up the assets column and the poor build up the liability column expenses. It's obvious that the author places more importance on accounting knowledge no matter how boring it is because he say the most important subject in your life. By using numerous examples and anecdotes, the author drive home his message effectively, revealing his pro-capitalist stance. Chapter summaries. Chapter 1: Rich Dad, Poor Dad. The story of Robert Kiyosaki and Mike starts in 1956 in Hawaii when both boys were around 9 years old. Their first get-rich scheme was a counterfeit nickel-making company. They made plaster molds of nickels and melted lead toothpaste tubes, and filled the molds to produce nickels. Their plan was foiled by Mike's father, who informed the boys of their illegal activities. After that day, the boys dedicated their free time to learning about finance and economics from Mike's father. The rich dad. The first lesson Mike's dad made the boy experience was hatred on the rat race. He was able to achieve this by making the boys work in one of his grocery stores for 3 hours, 14 cents an hour pay. Within a few weeks, Kiyosaki, tired of being exploited for labor, demanded that he receive a raise, but instead, Mike's father cut his pay and told him to work for free. Eventually, both boys, tired of being underappreciated and unpaid, and they meet individually with Mike's father. In their meeting with the rich dad, he apologized for lack of pay and he offered them either the moral of the lessons or pay raise. Both boys chose to learn the moral of the lessons, will rich dad offered them pay raise. He started at 25 cents a dollar, $2, and even $5, which would have been considered a large amount of money for an hourly wage. But the boys still remained strong with their decision to learn the moral of the lesson. Listen to get out of the rat race and instead of spending your whole life working to put a little money in your pocket and a bunch of money in someone else's pocket. Have people work hard to put money in your pocket. Out of all the lessons that were taught to the boy, this is one was the most important. Chapter 2. The rich don't work for money. The author tells his readers to forget the notion that life teaches his say the only thing that life does is push you around. This is chapter talk about people who are more comfortable in playing it's it's safe because they were not taught early to take risks. The author develops the idea that the poor and the middle class work for money, fear, and great cause in ignorance and poverty and the importance of using one's emotion versus thinking with emotions. The other also stress that opportunity in life come and go. The rich recognize them instantly and turn them into gold billions. Others do not see these opportunities because they are too busy seeking money and security, as the others say, well, that's all they're going to get. Chapter 3. Why teach financial literacy? The story of Kiyosaki and Mike continues later in life, 1990, and both of the two news adults have made incredible leaps and bounds with regards to the finance and their socio-economic status. Mike was able to take lessons from his father and apply them to his life. He took control of his father's large business and increased every aspect of the empire, and he is currently raising his son to take control of the company once he retired. As for Kiyosaki, he was able to retire at the age of 47 with his wife Kim. At a business meeting at the Edgewater Beach Hotel in Chicago, Charles Schwab, Samuel Insull, Howard Hobson, Iva Kruger, Leon Fraser, Richard Whitney, Arthur Cotton, Jesse Livermore, and Albert Fall meet to talk about different investment and money schemes. 25 years later, a report started that a large majority of those extremely wealthy people that met in Chicago either ended up in jail, dead, or penniless. The major idea to take from the results of these unfortunate entrepreneurs is that you need finance literacy to be and stay safe. The idea that was represented with the big 90-20 enterprise is still prevalent today with some of the professional athletes making poor financial decisions and ending up with next to nothing. This specific lesson is meant to teach people not to be wise with your money once you have it, but rather be smart with your money before you have it. In a way, don't try to build a skyscraper or even a house without building a strong foundation first. According to Kiyosaki, there is one rule and only rule that can help a person to build a strong foundation. Know the difference between an assist and a liability, and make sure that you only control assists. When it comes to believe about money buying freedom and the ability to enjoy retirement without fear or outliving one's money, this chapter captures the essence of the author's advocacy for financial independence. He says intelligence solves problems and produces money. Money without financial intelligence is money soon gone. The other believe that financial literacy began with a working knowledge of accounting. It is essential to know the difference between assets and liabilities to make sure these two terms are understandable and for the reader. The others make a rudimentary diagram of these two concepts to motivate them to purchase assets in order to solidify the assets column. While keeping liabilities expands to a bare minimum, the other states that poor people remain poor because they do the opposite. They pile up on their liabilities and have zero assets so that their balance sheets and income statement look out of kilter. People have to understand that it's not how much they make, but how much they keep according to the order, and he is essentially principle that this chapter focuses on. Chapter 4. Mind your our business. In this chapter, the author slowly introduced the concept of real estate investing and used McDonald's as an example. He pointed out that McDonald's may not make the best hamburgers in the world, but one's the most valuable intersections and streets in the America. The others remark that individuals need to mind their own business if they wish to become financially self-sufficient. They shouldn't mind their employer's business. They should strive for a ways to become their own boss and nurture their own business. The others continue his decision on building assets to him. Real assets are anything with value, stocks, bond, mutual fund, income producing real estate, notes, royalties from intellectual property. Chapter 5: The History of Taxes and the Power of Corporation. The author states that the poor let the big machinery corporation manipulate them, whereas the rich know how to use big machinery. This means that the rich possess knowledge and savoir-faire to use the power of corporation to protect and enhance their assets. The advantage of corporation versus that of the individuals lies in the how corporations pay taxes. According to the author, he makes this point clearly. Individuals earn money, pay taxes on that money, and lives with what left. The corporation, on the other hand, earns money, spends everything it can, and is taxed on anything that left. Add that individually might need to be aware of how much they being manipulated. They work from January to May to enrich the government by paying taxes on their income. In the meantime, the rich are hardly taxed. The book recommends developing one's financial IQ as one way of living the humdrum of daily existence. This is accomplished by gaining knowledge of accounting, investing, and understanding the markets. And law, he says being ignorant get you bullied, whereas being informed translated into you have a fighting chance. Chapter 6: The Rich Invent Money. The other developed the concept of self-doubt. He said that each person is born with talent, but that talent is suppressed because of self-doubt and fear. He remarks that it is not necessarily the educated, smart people who get ahead, but the bold and the adventurous. People never get ahead financially even if they have plenty of money because they have opportunities that they fail to tap. His stress, most of them just sit around waiting for opportunities to happen. The other's idea is that people create luck. They should not wait around for it. He say it's the same with money. It has to be created. In this chapter, the authors discuss the importance of one education. Although some critics say that he appears to downplay its importance. The author is clear by saying a trained mind is a rich mind. In his analytics, there are two types of investors, each with a different mindset: those who go for the package investment and those who customize investment to suit their objectives. The others encourage people to hear people more intelligent that they because by capitalization on knowledge of others, an intelligent individual builds his own knowledge base and therefore has more power over those who don't know. Chapter 7: Work to Learn, Don't Work for Money. This is the chapter where the authors talk about the skills individuals need to develop for financial success. The reader is given an example of a young woman who had a master's degree in English literature and who has often, when it is was suggested that she learn to sell and do direct marketing. After all the hard work for her degrees, she didn't think she would have to stop so low to learn how to be a salesperson, a profession she didn't think very highly of. The authors uses this example to emphasize that there are other skills people need to cultivate to help them on the road towards financial freedom. The book mentions management skills. He says individuals need to know how to manage cash flow, systems, and people. To that, he throws in selling and marketing skills. He put equal emphasis of communication skills. He said there are many people who have the scientist bent and hence have a powerhouse of knowledge, but they fail miserably in communication. There are the people who are one scale away from great wealth. The others call attention to the one outstanding trait of great wealthy families. They give money away, plenty of it, in like the poor who feel that charity begins at home. Chapter 8: Overcoming Obstacles. The opinion of the authors is that five personality traits hamper human being: fear, cynicism, laziness, bad habits, arrogance. He explains that while it's not normal to have fear, what's matter is how one handles it. The authors share his sentiment about his particular fondness for Texas and Texans. When they win big, and when they lose, it's spectacular. The authors maintain that it's not merely a question of balance but also. Chapter 9: Getting Started. This chapter serves as a section on type to create and build personal wealth. His first step is find a reason greater than reality to motivate you. Is to wake up to the financial genius in oneself by empowering the mind. He says that people must have a strong purpose for living. The next step is to feed the mind. By feeding the mind, the authors contend that people acquire power of choice. The author also advises people to choose friends carefully. He says to avoid people who proclaim instantly that the sky is falling and instead encourages readers to spend time with people who enjoy talking about money because they may have valuable lessons to share. The authors also believes that people should study one field and then go out and learn a new one. Although it is important to choose what one studies. Here is another tip that the authors observe most people don't practice. Pay yourself first. Even if short of cash, people must pay themselves first. This goes in tandem with managing three things efficiently: cash flow, people, and personal time. Another tip the authors gave is being generous. I think it's make a lot of sense to pay one's broker well, as he is an ally and your eyes and ears to the market. The authors suggest having heroes. They are indispensable in life because they not only inspire, they also make it seem so easy. They stimulate the human mind into thinking, if they can do it, why can't I? Teach and you shall also survive is another tip that the authors shares. His words are eloquent concerning this idea. There are powers in this world that are much smarter than we are. You can get there on your own, but it's easier with the help of the powers that be. All you need to be generous with what you have, and the powers will be generous with you. Chapter 10. Still want more? Here are some to do. This chapter is sort of supplement to the previous chapter. It gives readers additional tips to help them reach for financial rewards. One step is to stop doing what you are doing. That is, if it's no longer working or viable. The authors encourage readers to look for new ideas, to pick the brains of individuals who have the experience and who have already done what ones aspire to do. He advises on picking the learning curve alive, taking courses, buying tabs, attending seminars. In looking for real estate investment opportunities, the others recommend looking in the right place. One way of doing this is a job around night boards uh, one is interested in. People can acquire real estate even if they don't have sufficient funds for the down payment. In fact, with a bit of cleverness, the others say people can even make money with no capital. So now we are done with the summary of this book, Poor Dad and Rich Dad. So if you like the video, don't forget to subscribe, like the video, and post a comment below. And if you want a summaries of one of your favorite book, so let me know. Write the name in the comments, and it will be in our next video. So thank you for watching. I see you in the next video.